What's up everybody, Strat here from Strategic Audio, back again with another music production video. Welcome back to the channel. Today, like so many other days, we're going to be going through a new composition that I just made yesterday. And this is going to probably be a short video. I'm just going to briefly talk about the composition itself and again, quite briefly say why I enjoy making this style of music, this soulful style of music. And before we get into all of that, please drop the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel to get more music production tutorials and perspectives on music production that you might find educational or interesting or even entertaining. Right, so this piece came out of the blue and it started with an upright piano sound in Piano Tech 8 in the key of E flat minor. I didn't want to make it too slow and too lazy. The concept that I had in my mind was something a bit more intense, but still chill and soulful and laid back. Anyway, let's jump straight into the cook-up. So just to give a brief explanation with respect to the chord progression that I use for this piano, it's really simple. It's just 3 chords. It's the E flat minor 7, there are 7 chords, into the A flat or G sharp minor 7, and then you have the B flat minor 7. So just to reinforce the chords that I mentioned, I'll show you the output from Piano Tech, which will confirm that those are indeed the chords that you are hearing. So this element was just me attempting to create that background vocal effect. You know, in those old vintage kind of 60s and 70s tracks, you would have background singers acting as almost an instrument, just maybe adding some harmonies that, you know, some oohs or ahs or something like that in the background that really just blended in. That is the kind of effect I was going for here. And here, of course, you cannot do one of these without bass. I used a very good plugin called Modo Bass 2 from IK Multimedia, and that gives you a quite nice authentic sounding bass guitar, or it gives you the choice of some authentic sounding bass guitars. And I made a very simple choice to play the bass guitar in a uncomplicated way, just basically following the root notes of the chords and adding a little bit of a flair, a little bit of a melodic embellishment somewhere in the middle there. In my estimation, it is what a bass guitar player might do, or one of the options that you could choose as a real bass guitar player, just to try to build on the authenticity of this vintage sample. Now, I didn't really set out to make a vintage soul sample. You might know me from this channel, I tend to do a lot of that. But what I found is I ended up making this out of the blue because of the feeling that this style gives me. Now, I grew up in the 80s, and my mother and older cousins and uncles and so on, they were all into music, and they all introduced me to those older songs, you know, the Aretha Franklin, Diana Ross, Teddy Pendergrass, that type of music. The Motown and the Philadelphia soul sound was a big part of my childhood growing up because of my relatives. So that is one reason why I kind of gravitate towards this sound. but it's also more about the feeling that you get from this style. It's hard to describe, but music is good. Music produces an emotion in the listener, and this style of music gives me an emotion that I sometimes can't describe. It makes me feel good, but good is just too simplistic a way to describe it. It brings forth a calming, peaceful kind of feeling, and at the same time it's very inspiring, it's very motivating. It makes you want to create more, if that makes sense. And it really gets to something at the core of the listener. Well, for me, it's just it's just a joy to feel and hear how the various elements of those old songs in that style, how those elements interact with each other. The beautiful string parts and the interesting bass parts and the vocal harmonies, and just the emotion of the actual song itself. The singer, what he or she is putting into the song is always so filled with like a raw emotion. I spend so much of my producer life chasing a way to capture that lightning in a bottle with every piece that I make. Now, granted, I don't always just make this style, but it is what I go back to very, very often. It is between this and that, that traditional boom bap hip hop. And they're both connected to my childhood. They're both connected to what I really loved growing up. And that is something that each and every one of us as music producers should use. I don't agree with making music just for the sake of making what is currently popular, although I know that might be advisable if you're trying to make it commercially. I also think that there is a space in which you can make what you love and also bring in people who can relate to that, because it's not just you're not alone. What you love, you'll always find that a lot of other people love that same thing, and if you make it well and put yourself out there, there's a big chance that you can also make it commercially. You don't have to be Drake or Chris Brown or Kendrick in order to, make a living off music. Anyway, those are just my thoughts on the feeling that soul music, whether it's vintage soul or more modern soul music, I think that's the reason why they call it soul, is that there's something in it that strikes directly to the heart of the listener, to the soul of the listener. It builds an emotion or a series of emotions in you that are captured in the way the melodies intertwine and the harmonies. So I spent a while making this vocal part. in Exhale. A lot of you should be familiar with the plugin Exhale by Output. And I spent some time doing some sound design to make this vocal part sound the way it sounds. Exhale is fairly powerful when it comes to that sound design element and allowing you to make something that sounds original. So I actually did not know what I wanted to do when I pulled up Exhale, and that's usually me. I just freestyle and go with the flow, and whatever starts to sound interesting, I kind of go with that and mess with it until I get a sound and a vibe that to me fits what else I'm trying to do. So those last few elements that I added in are just in keeping with the main chord progression. The strings and the guitar are definitely just adding extra support, extra body, and perhaps a little bit of extra harmony to the main idea, and simple tambourine loop and a snare drum. So in effect, what it does is it creates a piece that sounds like it is part of the intro of a song, or maybe part of the breakdown of a song. It's not trying to be, a full song with all of its parts in full effect, like the chorus to a song or something like that. This is more like a producer could take this sample, this composition that I've created here, and chop it up, use it to make a whole new different type of beat if they wanted. I might even do another video where I take this particular sample and chop it up, make a beat with it. That might be my next video, who knows? Right, folks, so that was that. There you have it for this week's composition. Thank you so much for watching and listening to my ideas about the feelings that you get from this style of music. Really, truly, it's the feeling that you get from music or art in general. It's all about the feeling that it gives the observer or listener or whatever it is. Thank you again for liking, subscribing, watching. I really do appreciate it. It helps with growing the channel. First link in the description will get you access to free and premium loops and samples. Some are quite similar to the composition that we're going through here. Some are fairly different. Go see for yourself. Now it's time to sign out and say peace. I'll see you in the next video, and let's take a listen to the final mixed, mastered, and arranged version of this composition right now. See you next time.